Hi folks, a few years ago, after undergoing major surgery for breast cancer, Amanda here attempted to fly from the UK to Australia in a 1940s Tiger Moth. But the plan was scuppered by 2 engine failures and no fly zones.
They said to me, you might get shot down, and I was kind of like, what do you mean? What's the percentage of that? And they were kind of like, probably 100% that you're going to get shot down. I was kind of like, okay.
We hear Amanda's inspirational story, see how I would cope with the engine failures she experienced, and learn about her plans to attempt the challenge again. Amanda Harrison from Cambridgeshire in England fell in love with flying after her first lesson at the age of 14. She qualified as a commercial pilot in 2009 and got a job flying private jet charters. She'd always dreamed of undertaking a unique flying adventure, and in 2016 she purchased a 1940s Tiger Moth with a plan to fly it the 9,000 miles to Australia.
So why did you want to fly from London to Darwin?
Well, I actually wanted to fly round the world, but what I ended up doing was trying to emulate the amazing Amy Johnson, and she was the first woman to fly from the UK down to Australia in 1930. So that's why I wanted to set off from London to Australia.
Nicknamed the Queen of the Air, aged just 26, Legal Secretary Amy Johnson flew solo in her Gypsy Moth from Croydon in London to Darwin, Australia in just 19 days in May 1930.
Well, hello.
Owing to the rarity of Gypsy Moths today, to emulate Amy's historic flight, Amanda chose its successor.
Did you have to modify the aircraft?
Yes, I did. I had to have a big tank in the front, of course, because it only has 2.5 hours normally. And then I had a little extra tank, which is a long-range tank, which quite a few Tigers have, which is another hour. So I've got just over, nearly about 8 hours dry, but 7.5 comfortable.
And you put on a tail wheel, I think. You decided
I did a
against the
tail
skid.
wheel as well, yes. So a lot of people that the couple of people that I'd spoken to that have done this trip in a Tiger Moth had taken skids, but they were in the 1980s when there was less taxiing on big airfields, and I knew I'd have to go into big airfields for the customs, so of course I'm going to be taxiing a long time with a skid, and I'd had horror stories about the skids doing sparks when they were landing, you know, and fuel leaks and all kinds of things. So I thought, no, I'll chicken out, I'll take a tail wheel and brakes, although the brakes you don't really use apart from just stopping you roll onto the runway. And then I also gave in about the pump. So Amy had a big pump, which she just put the fuel pump to put the fuel from the tank.
Transfer pump, yeah.
Transfer pump, because it's gravity fed from the top. So she pumped the flipping fuel all the way to Australia. And having had the breast cancer, I thought I'd try. There is a Tiger Moth that I've been very kindly allowed to fly, to have a go at it. And I thought, I can't do that all the way.
The route that you planned was something like 10,000 nautical miles, and it was going to take how long, do you think?
It was going to take me about a month.
What about that route then? So talk me through the route that you plan to take.
So I was going to take a similar one to Amy Johnson. She just drew a line across the globe and went, that's where I'm going, in a straight line, because Bert Hinkler everybody else had done down through France and along Italy and then through the Mediterranean and then come out through that way. And she went, no, I'm going to fly straight across. Now, unfortunately, that goes through Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan. And again, this is it. People think I'm really brave. And I'm not. I went, I can't do Syria, I can't do Iran, I can't do Iraq, I'm not doing that. So I had to curve around that bit and come around that bit. And then I was going to curve back up through Pakistan and India and then follow her route down through Myanmar, Indonesia, across down to Australia.
Amanda set off on her adventure on the 11th of May 2019, but it wasn't long before her first mishap, a bird strike in Vienna.
So what they wanted me to do, they have a main runway there and then they have a second runway there, and they wanted me to curve round, not in the centre line of that runway at all, which I thought, okay, yes, hooliganism flying. So I curved round and came round and landed, and as I taxied out, because that runway wasn't being used a lot, there was a great big flock of starlings that went past me, and one of them, it was as I was taxiing, and one of them just took the spinner off. as they went by.
And the spinner went flying over your head.
Yeah, I saw the spinner going overhead, and I thought, oh no.
And then some repairs, and this is when you improvised somewhat, I think,
Yes.
to repair. You know, you could
The
fly
chips.
without with the spinner, but
Yep.
you had some damage to the prop.
So what we've done is we've sanded down, made it all smooth and lovely, smooth and lovely.
There was chips on the propeller, and as I phoned the engineer, he went, well, I'm sure you've got some nail varnish, haven't you? And I went, yes. Sand it all down and then put the bit of clear nail varnish on it, and that'll seal.
You used a nail file to
I used a nail
sand,
file
to
yeah,
sand down
yeah,
the chips.
Yeah. I used the nail file to sand it down, and then I painted it on.
Amanda went on to suffer 2 engine failures and unfortunately didn't complete her adventure, having reached as far as Beirut. We're going to talk about those engine failures now in a short flight from Earl's Cone in this Cessna 172. Amanda is a flight instructor, and she's going to pass on to me and you some of the points she learnt having dealt with those emergencies. This video is sponsored by Vertigo Covers, makers of modern, lightweight, affordable covers for your aircraft. I have a set of Vertigo covers for my Arrow Golf India Victor. They're easy to put on and take off, and since I park my aeroplane outside, they keep the interior dry during the winter. AOPA UK is the independent voice of General Aviation in the UK. Amanda and I are members because we recognise the advice and support they can give in times of need, and we want to support the work AOPA does to secure our freedom to fly.
So should we go there and then cross down there, or just head over here?
No, I'd just head over there actually, because actually you're in less of a conflict the further up you are here.
But you had 2 engine failures, partial power
Yes.
engine failures after takeoff.
Yes.
And I'm interested in how you dealt with that.
Yeah.
What if anything you took away from it? I haven't done a fartos. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? A fartos. Engine failures after.
You've probably done some of those, yeah.
I haven't done engine failures after takeoff
Yes.
for a while actually. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And deal with that sort of partial power dilemma.
Yeah.
Happy to do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Dare we mention roads?
Do we have to?
'Cause
I am the villain in roads.
You didn't have just one
No.
engine failure
No,
at
I'm
roads. You decided you'd have
I
2.
like to have 2.
The first time round it was a cylinder.
It was a cylinder head.
What was your second failure then?
The second failure, I don't know.
You don't know what it caused it?
No, we still, to this day, we don't know.
Both engine failures occurred after takeoff from Rhodes. The first time wasn't filmed, but Amanda did make it back to the runway. The second time was captured on camera, and here's Amanda giving a commentary on what happened.
I'm not getting a good climb rate, and I can't understand why. And I'm looking across at the revs, and I'm thinking, no, I'm definitely not climbing enough. And I start to look down at the airspeed, and I'm thinking, have I got the fuel on? Is the mags on? What on earth is going on? Why am I not being able to climb? But I'm not. I look down at the revs and see, I'm not making full power. There's something really wrong. Now at this point, I should have just closed the throttle and landed back on. There's plenty of enough runway at Rhodes to land back on. However, air traffic was insistent that I turn right on my track because she'd got somebody landing far too quick after me. I'm now looking down, airspeed, airspeed, airspeed. In the engine failure, airspeed, 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 this will keep you alive. I'm now starting to realise I've got to land somewhere. There's nowhere for me to put in a field. You can see it's all scrub, it's all houses, there's hotels in front of me, nowhere to go. So I now have to make the decision to turn round. So I have to turn round, and you can see I could have had plenty of enough runway to have landed back on if I hadn't have made the decision to turn round. But because I let air traffic sort of bully me into turning right. Anyway, I'm now downwind, and I'm now declaring a full mayday. As you can see, I'm really low, and I'm not making any height. I'm losing height even on full power. So mayday, mayday, mayday. 3 words you never want to utter in your entire piloting career. I realise I'm going in the sea, so I make the best of it. So you can see here, I can actually go to the shore and it'll be okay. It's quite shallow is the water here. I'm kind of thinking okay. However, air traffic now says to the airliner in front, go around, go around. So the airliner's going up. I watch it to make sure it's in that attitude of climbing away and say, Aksan landing back on. Now this is the turn that you've got to watch. So I've turned towards the runway and I make the mistake of doing a much too hard a bank here, but I'm conscious of the airspeed. This is the turn, again, that people get wrong. Now I'm levelling out, I've got plenty of taxiway, I'm downwind, so I've got a tailwind, so of course the landing's not going to be good. I'm also max weight up, not a good landing, you can see I'm telling myself off, but I'm down and I've got enough to taxi back. And of course the fire crew is following me, and they're always disappointed when you're not on fire and you can taxi in.
What really struck me in Amanda's commentary there on her second engine failure was her sense that she couldn't land back because there was a jet on final approach and the controller was urgently trying to get her to turn right out of its way. I think that's probably something I would have struggled with too. It's often easy to feel subservient to air traffic control. But if you have an engine failure, whether you're an A380 or a Tiger Moth, it doesn't matter. You take priority.
So, how's the power looking? That's 20, is that normal?
Yep, that's good.
T's and P's are in the green. Waiting for airspeed.
So we're taking off from Earl's Cone and we're flying out to the local training area so that I could experience a partial engine failure, much like Amanda did for real, and consider what I would do in that situation.
So, but if you had partial engine now, so if you just put the carby on and bring it back to about 1500, what's the first thing you're going to do? The first thing you're going to do is airspeed, isn't it?
So 70, wasn't it? 75?
Yeah, 75.
75.
But that's for the glide though, isn't it?
Well, that's going to be best. That's going to be best.
That's going to be best glide, but is that best glide with the power? Possibly not, because that might give you a little bit of a nose-up attitude, and it might start flying a bit slowly.
So what would you go for then?
So I'd probably go for about 80 on that.
So now we're looking, can we maintain?
Yeah.
Can we maintain? We can't. We're descending at 400 feet per minute.
So now we're going to have a look around.
So we're looking for around. We're into wind in a minute. So we've got fields to go to, but are we going to be able to make it back to a runway? I don't think we are we, at this point? But
I don't think we are at this point, no, because we're about 30 miles away, aren't we now?
So this would be. Is this panel or Mayday now? Because I think we're going down. I think we're going to have to go into a field. We're descending too quickly.
Yeah.
We're not going to make an airfield. I need to find a suitable an airfield. So I've got, got a nice field here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stay really close to it because this could stop at any point.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and diagnose now. So mixture we would do, mags we would do.
Yeah.
Fuel, we'd put the fuel pump on. If we had, do we have a fuel pump on?
No, we don't, because it's a primer. Yeah.
So we'd change tanks, we'd look at the gauges, and we still haven't found out what's going on.
Would you change tanks though? Because if it's that tank, it also you might lose complete power if you change tanks. So actually, if you've got a little bit of power, you might actually just keep with it. There's no right or wrong. That's the problem.
Right. So I would now be making for this field down here.
Yeah.
So I'd be now preparing. In fact, probably now I would probably cut the engine.
Yeah.
Go to idle and come in and do a PFL.
Yeah.
So do you want to do that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Yeah. So we've got our carpet on protecting us. Yeah. We've had a good look around. There's nobody.
What's our height? So we're about 1,000 feet above now, but so we're nice and.
And now you can sort of trim back to that 75. And then when you think you're going to make it, and then again slowly on the flaps, or no flaps at all. And this is the point. So as you're turning round, you're losing that airspeed.
Yeah.
And this is the point where people go wrong because they're losing their airspeed.
I'm not used to high wing aircraft.
I'm
struggling with that too. But I think we're good here. What's our height? We're 800 feet. So I'm going to go around from here, but I think we'd make that field.
Yeah, we would have made that field because we would have put a couple of stages of flaps in.
But did that seem like the right sort of decision making?
Absolutely. And again, as long as you survive, there is no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's kind of, but it's all that thinking of, well, is it the tank that is causing the problem? Because we've selected a tank, it might be. But if you change it, is that then going to make it worse? And I think it's absolutely right to call a mayday call in this country because when you're going down. So if we now have an engine failure after takeoff, if we have a look at our, before you do it, if we have a look at our altitude, and we've got sort of 65, 75 knots on there, that's quite a high up altitude.
Yeah.
If you then put the car beat on and gently take the engine back so that we protect our engine. The first thing you know what to do is change the attitude. It's a massive attitude change, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get that 70 knots. Let's do 70 knots in the glide. But that's like a whole sort of hand attitude change, isn't it? We've got plenty of time. We've got loads of fields.
Where we could go into any of these, couldn't we?
We could go into any of those fields there. So it's airspeed, 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 and getting that attitude change that's the problem. Okay, yep, I'd climb away from there.
It's good to practice these fundamental flying skills with Amanda, although we have the luxury of height in our practice here today, something Amanda didn't have, of course, in real life back in Rhodes. Ultimately, Amanda's adventure was halted by political instability in the world. The airspace between Pakistan and India was closed, and there was a risk from unrest in the Persian Gulf. You didn't make it
No.
to Darwin.
No.
You got as far as Beirut, I think.
So I had very good security advice from this country and people that have blacked out faces over in Wales. And they said to me, the waters are getting really difficult. We're not going to be able to help you. You might get shot down. And I was kind of like, what do you mean? What's the percentage of that? And they were kind of like, probably 100% that you're going to get shot down. I was kind of like, okay, I don't want to do that. And that was when the drone, do you remember the big American drone was shot down? That was where it was shot down, and I would have been flying that very route. And if I'd been carrying on with the weather and stuff that I've been doing in the next fortnight, that I would have been flying in that exact spot. So that was very, very good advice.
So her 2019 mission came to an abrupt end, but Amanda is determined to try again, possibly as early as next year. In the meantime, she's become a bit of a figurehead for women in aviation and a champion for people with dyslexia and those who've survived cancer. So what's it like being a celebrity then? You've got a book and a film out.
I know, it's weird. Truthfully, it's weird. I've walked in today and people are offering to make me cups of tea and get me fuel and do everything, and I'm kind of like, hang on a minute, I'm just me. I'm still an ordinary person. It's fantastic because I'm now in this privileged position where people are looking at me for the inspiration. So if I can inspire women to fly, if I can inspire both boys and girls to fly, if I can inspire dyslexics to fly, if I can inspire people with breast cancer to do more than they thought they could. And actually now, I don't want everybody to learn to fly because I quite like the sky to myself up there. I like flying solo, so not everybody needs to fly, but they need to realise that they can probably do a little bit more than they thought they can do, and that's a real privilege. And yes, all the stuff around it is a bit weird of being, like you say, a celebrity. But if it brings good things, then that's great.
Moving the aircraft now to the hangar. This is in Lebanon.